Welcome everybody to a new episode of the Startup Show. Today I have the big pleasure to introduce you to a best-selling author, Noam Wasserman. He's also an associate professor at Harvard Business School. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much, Cédric.
Welcome back to the Startup Show. Today I would like to introduce you to Noam Wasserman. So please give us a little bit of background about you as a person.
Started life as an engineer, and then ended up adding on the business side of it, ended up getting some experience with founding, then ended up becoming essentially a professor to go and bring a bunch of the lessons that I had learned to the founders who are out there. And along the way, for the last 20 years, I've been here in Boston. I actually, just to update a little bit on the bio, was a professor at Harvard until about 3 months ago.
Okay.
And as of 3 months ago, I'm now going back home to Los Angeles, where I'm starting a new center that's focused on founder issues and doing a bunch of workshops and other things to be able to bring the lessons to a wider bunch of people. And so doing things to educate angel investors about how to evaluate founders, founders about how to be more prepared for the things that they're going to be going into. And so being able to go and have a much bigger platform and doing it in the California arena rather than on the East Coast.
Tell me, when you started writing your book, what made you, what was your motivation to start saying like, okay, I want to show the founders what they're doing wrong? Is there like some personal experience behind it that you said like, that was like an issue that I wanted to solve?
Yeah, so when I was, there were several levels of my engagement with the issues. The first one was when I was doing my founding before I came back for school. And I didn't realize at that time the seeds that I was planting, the experiences I was having, and that they were relatively universal, that they were general founding things that every founder goes through.
Yeah.
It was only when I was working for a venture capital firm that's when I started seeing founding team after founding team coming through. And as I'm talking to them about the things they're grappling with and their histories together, that's when I realized that I wasn't alone, that there were recurring themes that founders are always grappling with, that we at that point had no answers for them, had no ways to help them avoid the problems that are going to lead to their teams breaking down, that are going to lead to harming growth of the venture, that are going to lead to their getting fired as CEO of their babies and things like that. And so as I was heading in to start researching those, I developed a course to be able to go and teach the students about these things before they encounter them. But then got frustrated with only being able to go and educate 250 students a year.
Yeah.
And so that's where I decided, how can I go and bring the lessons to the much wider range of entrepreneurs who are out there? That's when I decided to go and write the book and bring a bunch of those lessons into a very different format, but that had a much wider scope than just the classroom.
Absolutely. A beautiful segue into your book, The Founder's Dilemma. Can you tell us a little bit about like what you did there?
Oh, sure. This is taking a look at what the research has shown are all of the pitfalls along the way that will take the founders' dreams and the impact they want to have and torpedo them, will cause problems for their being able to realize them.
Yeah.
It starts from before founding, when you're building a lot of the foundation that you're going to be able to use as a founder. A lot of the ways in which people make career decisions that are not going to go and set them up for founding, where they go and evaluate their ideas badly. Essentially, when you have the passion to go and found, when you have the light bulb that's gone off and you really want to go and do it, how you're going to shortchange a lot of the thinking that has to go into, are you really ready for it? Is the idea really good enough? Is this stage of life right for me, or am I going to be causing problems for my personal life by doing it? And so starting off with the perils of passion, if you will, and how to think through more deeply how to be able to go and do this well. And then once you are founding, how should you go about building the team? Should you be a solo entrepreneur? Should you be a solo founder? Or should you go and find other people? Who should you go and find? Is it a good thing to go and found with your best friend? Is it a good thing to go and found with your spouse? Who are the other profiles that you should think more deeply about that are going to be tougher to get to, but might be better ways for you to go and find co-founders? And then as you're involving everyone, how should you split up the roles? How should you make decisions? There are a bunch of pitfalls along the way, and within the founding team, it's not just how do you go and allocate the roles and decision making, but how are you going to allocate the equity, the ownership? How are you going to split it? And to the extent that a recurring theme is that the most common decisions that founders make happen to be the most ill-fated, happen to be the ones that lead to the most unstable founding teams that cause problems for them. That's where we have to educate founders about how to make better decisions when they are going and grappling with it and setting themselves up for success rather than increasing the chances of instability.
Right. I mean, like I read some parts of your book, and I see sometimes it's a little bit of a contradiction with the movement of the lean startup way, where basically people say like, let's just go in, let's try things, let's see if our assumptions are correct. Does it work with the lean way of doing a startup, or is it in contradiction what you found out?
Well, there are some ways in which there's two very different realms of decisions that founders are making, lean versus the things that I focus on.
Yeah.
Lean is looking at product decisions that you might be going and making, versus the things that I look at are more the people decisions. Okay. And in general, you could see where lean, you can go and take the gut and the intuition, what seems right to you, and you go and make decisions, and then you go and deploy them and test them and use the A/B testing and everything else that goes into lean, the MVPs and things like that. When it comes to the people decisions, what I find is that just diving in, following your gut, following the intuition, that's where you're going to have real problems to go and not follow those things. It's also in the people realm, it's far harder to undo a bad decision.
Right.
Once you go and make decisions about who you are bringing on board, how you're going to involve them, and things like that, hitting the undo key is much harder. Right. When it comes to some of the product ones, to go and pivot, pivoting on people stuff is a lot tougher than pivoting on the product stuff usually.
Absolutely.
And so that's where it's two different realms, two different philosophies, two different orientations.
Absolutely. Okay, good. So I mean, like, I'm sure my audience is curious to know what are like the main lessons you can give in a nutshell, quickly, briefly, about when you say like this is the advice that you want to give a startup founder before or after he started a company.
Okay, well, a key one, we've already covered a little bit on it, is understanding the path ahead of you, understanding what are the key forks in the road where I'm going to be making decisions that are going to set the table for the future in ways that if I don't do it right, it's going to cause problems for me. And so, not just diving in and assuming along the way I'll be able to pick up what are the key steps along the way beforehand.
Yes.
Go and understand them a lot better than people typically do. Another one, and this is also key to understanding how to pull back on the intuition, my favorite quote is from Steve Jobs when it comes to this, that what Steve said was, follow your heart, but check it with your head. So essentially go, have the intuition, go and be able to tap it, but make sure before you do that you go and inject the head into it and the rational thought and the idea of what is coming ahead of you. And so understand those key forks in the road. Within my course, there are probably about 3 dozen of them. They're the key forks that we understand are the key ones for students to learn how to pull back on themselves. Know what those are, set yourself up to be able to go and make sure you're not just diving in without thinking before you do them. And that happens with the pre-founding stuff we were talking about, the building the team, the 3 key areas that we were talking about with the relationships you're tapping, the roles and decision making, and the rewards pieces of it. When you're going in and looking at the financing part of, should I be bootstrapping or should I take outside money? Understand what those mean in the long term. What are those going to mean for your control of the venture? What are those going to mean for the resources you're going to have to go and accelerate your growth? That comes with heightening your potential, but also a bunch of risks it's going to introduce that if you're not ready for it, it's going to cause problems for you. And so to understand those key forks in the road and then project yourself into it and understand where you're going to cause problems for yourself if you don't pull back on the reins.
Right. Good. Noam, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for giving us some insights to my audience. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the Startup Show. Today with Noam, best-selling author of the Founder's Dilemma. And have a good day, everyone. I'll see you soon with another episode. Bye.
Thank you, Cédric.